Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, social media, pop culture, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. If this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys here. I would encourage you, if you are on YouTube, to click on that watermark down there in the bottom right-hand corner to subscribe, or you can use the red subscribe button below the video, whichever you prefer. And of course, those who are on DTube and BitChute, I would encourage you guys to give me a follow there as well, as all of your guys' participation here on the channel is greatly appreciated. In gaming news, this week Infinity Ward released the 1.24 update for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, as well as the Season 5 Battle Pass. You guys can check out that video up here in the top right-hand corner. They included a lot of new content and elements to the game, as well as operators and blueprints and guns. So of course, if you guys check out the video, you'll get all the details there, and you can check that out up there in the top right-hand corner. Patreon, the membership platform that is used by many creators to engage directly with their audience, is back in the news again. And we have talked about Patreon before when it comes to Carl Benjamin, or Sargon of Akkad, as well as Lauren Southern, who was banned off of the platform for what was perceived by Patreon as controversial topics or particular concerns that they had in the woke culture. Now, I want to read from an article because Owen Benjamin was also banned from the site, except he took a little bit more aggressive actions against them. So Owen Benjamin has managed to get 72 of his fans sued by Patreon. Last October, Patreon banned Benjamin, an alt-right commentator and self-styled comedian, for violating its policies against hate speech. So you can see the language right there, already inflammatory here in the article, to suggest that that Owen was somehow some sort of danger to the Patreon community or the Patreon brand, despite the fact that it already has a great deal of controversial individuals on it to begin with. The alt-right is a loose collection of conservatives that harbor white supremacists. So again, the language very rough here, outlining kind of Owen and or individuals that have been banned from Patreon to kind of make them seem as though they have committed some sort of crime for actually participating on the platform. Patreon's ban came in the midst of a flurry of other platforms kicking him off as well. Benjamin has been banned by YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for anti-Semitic and other hate speech. Now you got to keep in mind here that Owen Benjamin is a comedian. He creates his own content, and of course comedians in general have been under attack because of just the hypersensitive culture that we're in. Earlier this year, the Daily Dot reported that he had tried to sneak back onto YouTube and Twitter. I don't know how exactly you do that when you're right there in front of the camera like you see me here, but got caught and summarily booted again. According to court documents, Benjamin subsequently filed a $2.2 million claim against Patreon for banning him. He later upped his demand to 3.5, and he was successful in this, because essentially what happens is, since you provide a membership service to your fans, you enter in what's called a tertiary contract, or is tertiary interference if you disrupt a contract between two parties. For example, of course, Patreon provides membership. It's at different tier levels, and individuals can gain access to things like forums, chat rooms, or exclusive content by the creator. So tertiary interference is kind of partly what these people are pursuing them by. But let me explain to you what Mike Cernovich has said, who is also kind of a controversial figure, of a conservative figure. Most people, obviously, who are conservative on the right are always going to be under assault by the cancel culture in general. But from Cernovich, update: Patreon lost. The judge applied well-established law and denied Patreon's motion cited against him in their lawsuit against Owen Benjamin fans. Patreon will now be forced to arbitrate 100 claims and pay upfront fees of up to $10,000 per arbitration. So anyone who wants to challenge this, for example, for having Benjamin, Lauren Southern, or even Carl Benjamin, Sargon, these individuals, their fans, can pursue Patreon, and when they bring up a claim towards them, when they bring up arbitration, that means that Patreon has to address each particular claim. So this could be maybe perhaps the end of Patreon. It's going to be difficult and interesting to see how Patreon is able to negotiate and deal with these, because it would be far too expensive. Actually, it would completely collapse the company if they had to then pursue each one of these particular claims, particularly if Lauren Southern and then Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, decide to have their particular fans pursue this and then file a lawsuit. So it will be interesting to see how Patreon moves forward with it. I'm not the biggest fan of Patreon. I understand why it's there. One of the channels that I do voiceover work for is part of Patreon, and friend Tom Girl Gamer is also using Patreon. It does provide them with some additional income in that exclusive direct contact with the fans, but nonetheless, guys, we will keep an eye on it, and I'll post links for you about this particular topic below. TikTok, the wildly popular social media platform that hosts little video shorts where people can create these very interesting, amusing, and entertaining videos with all sorts of very interesting tools, mind you. And I am on TikTok. If you guys were wondering, of course, there is a link below this video if you guys want to join me there on TikTok. But nonetheless, it has come under fire by President Trump and the administration for spying on its users. Now, the argument, of course, could be made that many apps out there do collect information on users. However, because TikTok is made by ByteDance, which is based out of China, and if you have been a follower here on the channel, you are very aware of China's kind of pervasive, nonchalant approach to intellectual properties and or copyright. They are very known in copying material that they like, because to them, copying things that are successful is just part of their culture, part of just their way of approaching things. As if it is the best or if it is very good, then they want to share in that success. But I want to read from the article here before we go into the commentary. A new security feature in iOS 14, that's for Macs and Apples, has caught TikTok spying on millions of its users. The popular social media platform was caught red-handed copying text from a user clipboard every few seconds, effectively keylogging or keystrokes without their knowledge. Though this was previously done in secret, beta users of Apple's new iPhone software received notifications when an app is collecting user data and found themselves constantly being pinged when typing on TikTok. Now, in a statement from or an article from the Telegraph and from TikTok, their response was, in a statement to the Telegraph, which first reported the news, a TikTok spokesperson said that what users were seeing was actually a feature designed to identify repetitive spamming behavior and not a purposeful invasion of privacy. Now, of course, in China, they don't have TikTok. They have a program called Douyin, which is kind of their version, because all of their particular social media platforms are all internalized and centralized there in China. The only people who may have access to Facebook and Twitter or other social media in the West are going to be individuals with VPN, which is very regulated, and only a handful of people perhaps in China actually have access to VPNs. Because again, we're talking about the Communist Party, their control over content, their control over media, whether it's mainstream media or social media or media in general, they're always controlling that, and particular any type of content out of the West they're very sensitive to. But it is not unusual, for example, like a company like ByteDance to collect data on Americans and information and deliver it directly to the Communist Party. And of course, the communists are very effective with their propaganda, as we're already seeing videos being produced on the Douyin TikTok version there in China. And I'm going to leave a link down below this video to Matthew's video that he did on this. If you guys are familiar with both Matthew and Serpent ZA or Winston, we've talked about them quite a great deal. I'm a big fan of ADV China. These two guys have been vlogging out of China for years. I think combined together they have over 22 years of experience vlogging and just being in the Chinese culture. They are married, of course, to Chinese women. They have left China because of the growing nationalism and, of course, this animosity now towards the West, particularly now that the West is kind of going after China, or the president is standing up to China. And many people within Asia who may not be political, they may be, apolitical, or may not be active in politics, are actually saying that they are glad that President Trump is actually standing up to China, because China has always used this kind of soft power to manipulate countries and nations, and even students here in the United States are often kind of controlled by this soft power to make sure they don't, overly interact with Westerners or gain too much of that Western individualism and sense of liberty type of scenario. I'm trying to be very sensitive with the language here, but you guys clearly understand that they don't want many of their citizens to be influenced by the Western mindset or the Western culture, because it is vastly different than it is there in China. But nonetheless, guys, I will leave links to that below this video, and you guys can check that out. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. I want to thank all of you guys for your continued participation here on the channel. Summertime can be a little slow, but I'm glad that you guys are stopping by and checking out the video. You are always welcome to leave a comment and, of course, share any of this content that you would like. So I would ask now, if you are following on DTube and or BitChute, that you guys can give me a follow there as well. And, of course, all of those on Parlay, which I am now part of. You guys can find a link to Parlay and or my account below this video, so I would encourage you guys to give me a follow there as well. I like Parlay. It's very neat, very nice. I like the environment there. But nonetheless, guys, thank you so very much for your continued participation here on the channel. And of course, appearing right there on the screen, that would be the channel icon, which you guys can click on, and then click on notifications if you guys do want to know when there is content here on the channel, as well as the Friday vlog. And I will see you guys right there behind that camera next week.